Okay guys, welcome back to EAK TV. I'm here with Toni Lane Casserly, the founder of CULTU.RE and working on global citizenship. How are you doing today?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Yeah, so are you enjoying Delta Summit so far? Is it living up to your expectations?
Yeah, it's definitely massive.
Cool, so tell us a bit more about yourself and your journey into the blockchain space.
Sure. I got into blockchain in around 2011, more philosophically, and I ended up getting into blockchain in 2013 as a member of the industry, and that really arose from deep inquisition into the way that we had structured the systems governing this world, running this world. It seemed so inhuman, the idea that we were so separate from each other, or separate from our own economics, or even separate from our ability to make our own decisions about how our life, our world around us could or should be run. And so realizing that this just isn't good for humans, this isn't healthy, this isn't this isn't inherently human. We're naturally empathetic social animals. And understanding that if we wanted to not reach a point of existential tipping point, that something was going to have to change. And that asking that question, searching for that answer, was what led me to blockchain technology.
And what would you say excites you most about the blockchain technology?
The idea that we could live in 100 years in a world without money, that my children may never have to have a job, that the way that we think about the future of work is the idea of doing what you love, pursuing your passion, constantly asking, why is this the way that it is? How could it be better? And I think knowing that the generation after us will grow up in a better world, and that we have the ability to take change into our hands and really make that possible. I think that what excites me the most is just the potential for humans to be more free.
Okay, and do you think that blockchain then has the possibility to endanger a cultural shift?
I think it already is in many different ways. I mean, most of the people that I know who are in the blockchain space, they live traveling around the world. They don't have this very archetypally specific relationship to geography. A lot of our early friends went and moved to, Thailand or Bali or all of these other places, and most people around me are really living through the lens of, for their life, or if not for a period of time, what it means to be a global citizen. And I think we're already seeing a cultural shift. We have many industry leaders who, rather than walking around in suits and ties, are actually wearing, clothes from Burning Man. And I think that this is a really important and powerful cultural message for people to see that you can be free. You don't have to be afraid, and that you can. We've already taken this many risks if you've been in Bitcoin for that long. So why not continue to find a way to push what is normal and harming people out of its own mentality and into something that can cause us to develop more acceptance for each other and maybe more fun. Yeah.
So you'd count yourself as a global citizen?
So I haven't been in one place longer than 10 days in the last year and a half. I'm definitely a global citizen, I think, in any way that you can be. And you know what? That was the best decision I could have made. I just said, I'm not feeling like I'm thriving in the environment that I'm surrounded by, and I just need to go. I'm from Texas, right? And Texas is an amazing place, but I just thought, there has to be something more. I feel like I'm not receiving. I'm not able to give what I can give to the world because I am not out there enough to really know. And that was such a positive. It wasn't just a lifestyle change. It really gave me a lot of perspective. Now, granted, I'm really lucky because I have a passport that allows me to basically travel anywhere, and not everyone has that privilege. There are people who, when I was even boarding my flight to come here, there were two guys who were from Ghana. And granted, they did cut in line, and I was like, are you really going to cut in line right now when we've been waiting for my feet are tired? come on. But
Us British hate that as well.
I was like, come on. But even still though, they got, just because of where their passports were from, they immediately got screened out. And they were the last persons to board if they got on, because their passports were not giving them the same access to their basic rights as passports from other places. And so, even if you're born in Argentina, I know families that were wealthy in Argentina that had to sell everything they owned to basically go live as immigrants in London. And it's unbelievable to think that we've lived in a world where, because of where you were born, someone who's born, like 6 million miles away from me or whatever, that I might have so much more freedom in my life, that I might, not that I'm capable of more, that I'm smarter, that I'm born with inherently more, just that I was born inside of one certain geography, and how the people who run those geographies fight with each other determines the rights of innocent people on the ground. And I think that there's really it's a broader than a cultural shift. I think we're really seeing a movement back into a planetary population. Instead of viewing everything through the lens of separation, if we begin to understand that all of this, our relationship to economics, our relationship to governance, our relationship to each other, that all of this is connected, we will really start to see change.
And can you provide us with some real-world examples, maybe where blockchain's already, where this is already happening due to blockchain?
Sure. So, what is already happening? Global citizenship, or?
As in blockchain technology actually changing the cultural paradigm shift.
Yeah. So, all over. It's not that it's happening in one place, because blockchain is not in one jurisdiction, right? It's happening all over the world, and that's really the power, is that our idea of place is becoming less relative. And the same way that the internet connected everyone in the world, we're now connecting the dots between all of the value in the world with the ability to distribute that through the mechanism that connected all the people. So I think it's not just going to happen in one place, it's going to happen to people who stand up and get out there and do something meaningful and interesting and really actively participate in the stewardship of this new global economic commons. Right? So what we're working on with Web of Trust is an enabler for that. An enabler for us to say not only we're stewarding an economic commons, but it's actually our responsibility as peers to steward our dynamics and to steward our relationships to each other, and to help use our stewardship of each other to give more people greater access to that freedom. To say that, just because I was born here, I am a good person. I am. And I can build houses, and I do speak English, and I didn't, get an Ivy League education, but I am a good person, and I can work very hard, and I do have these skills, and I can have a job. I don't have to fight to get it or go through the screening process or work for free for years. I can just develop a skill and immediately go and do that thing. And I think that is so beautiful, that the potential and the possibility for us to really reconnect people with their own sovereignty and their own sensibility about who is their community. We're all one human family. And maybe blockchain is just a tool. Blockchain is just a tool. But if we use a tool in the right way, we can empower a really meaningful change.
Okay, and what would you say are the biggest hurdles right now facing the technology, but also facing the message that obviously you're trying to give?
Fear-based mentalities. The idea that, I wouldn't say old school way of thinking, because I know people that are new school thinkers and they're very afraid. People that wake up in the morning and they're just afraid. They're afraid to be alive. They're afraid to see women be successful and have a position of power. They're afraid that no one will love them. They're afraid that they're not good enough. They're afraid that they are not safe, that they have too much to do, that they'll never be a success even if they're already a success. It's that there are people just walking around in fear, that no one will like them, that they don't know enough, that they're whatever. And so it's actually just really, I think, the biggest setback to the human race is that people live in their ego. And that's messing things up for everyone. You have to get your ego out of the way to do anything, because it's literally standing there the ego is like this giant roadblock to everything in the world. So that's actually the biggest challenge. It's not like the technology is this big challenge. It's actually that human beings seem to be capable of so much, and then for some reason still so lost in who they are, right? Which is shocking. It's like, what if everyone realized that we're all just here? And that if we all just work together, if we all just let go of the idea of who we should be, maybe people would, I don't know, start learning more about each other instead of trying to learn skills that won't matter in 5 years, you know?
And do you think like that is due to, you know, the big rise in social media? Like everyone's trying to act up potentially on Instagram, trying to be someone maybe that they're not, and not actually meeting people in real life and being real with each other?
I think learning about each other and also learning about yourself and what you have to face what you have to meet in yourself to let go, what you have to meet in yourself and let go of for you to actually live your own life unencumbered. I don't think it's because of social media. The idea that we have so many people in the way of their whole life. I think it has very little to do with social media, actually, and I think it has, social media like is a tool. Ego is like, I mean, like heathen beings had it's the actualization of existence, but in the actualization of existence, it's also the realization of the pains of what that is. It's also realization of, as I exist, I also understand that these experiences have happened to me that were never resolved, where I wasn't treated fairly, where someone didn't love me enough, where I didn't get held as a child, I was lonely in school and I didn't have any friends, I was a nerd, I felt like people didn't understand me, I didn't speak English, whatever. It's these little things that people say, this is my existence. And so many people base their whole life on not letting go of this one simple thing that informed the false idea of who they are. And so they're constantly living through that falsehood. That's something that's existed since, I mean, really like the dawn of man. You know, this isn't something new. This is the human race's great overcoming. And there are still not enough people, even like you have to, it's not something that you do and then all of a sudden you don't have to focus on it anymore. It's a continual practice of just being free of yourself to be what you actually want to be. The only thing really, what if people realized that the only thing in their way was them, and that the purpose of their life wasn't to fulfill some agenda, you know? But what if everyone just decided that being happy, whatever that means to you, without causing harm to anyone else, persons also including our planet Earth. And what if you realize that your happiness was relational to every person's happiness in this room? That all of these things are dynamic and interconnected. And that the minute that you wish something negative on someone, or you feel something negative, or you feel angry or afraid or upset, that your feeling is not even just, I mean, it is your own, and it's also a feeling that everyone else carries. And if we're all able to move past ourselves together, maybe we can start focusing on what matters. Maybe if you let go of yourself, you can have enough compassion to start focusing on each other. And that really, at the end of the day, is I believe it's not just technology that will transform the world. Technology is a tool. If you want to use those tools, people who are afraid can use tools for evil. There is a man who invented the atomic bomb, and he lived the rest of his life in sorrow and regret for what his genius was capable of. But it's working through that energy of fear. And not even consciously realizing that that's what you're doing, or the fear of other people. And you have to let go of that. And so, yeah, it's an age-old problem, and it's really about how people use this tool is going to determine the impact that it will have on the world. And you cannot say that technology is not going to get into the hands of people who are afraid. It will also get into the hands of people who are good people and who are well-intentioned. And maybe they just have to build better economies because that's the only kind of rationale of the last several centuries that I think would really create a meaningful shift for people. Yeah.
Cool. So, like, how do people break that kind of negative silo? Like, what would your message be to those people?
Well, it's becoming aware that you're in a cycle in the first place. You know, like one time you like something happens and you're like, and you like get mad, or you like, and you get scared, or you like get sad, like, and you just realize in that moment, like you cry, someone hurts you, someone treats you unfairly, and you cry. Instead of saying, you know what, I don't feel like I'm being treated fairly. I'm not going to give you the energy of my sadness. I'm going to let go of being treated unfairly, instead of staying in this cycle where I cry because I'm treated unfairly, but I stay in this situation where I'm treated unfairly because I don't know a way out. And you just realize one day, oh, I am getting mad, sad, angry, confused, afraid, whatever. Instead of actually standing up for myself, it's just a pattern. In the same way that you have to hack code to create new products, you have to hack your own brain. And that's not to say to, you know, not respond to anything, but it's to say if you're meta-cognitive, meta-aware of your own responses and your own reactions, then you have the ability to control yourself. You can't control other people, you can see other people, but you can let go of what exists in you that has taught you that you'll never, most people who say, why do I keep failing, or like, I'll never be a success, it's because they believe a lie that they taught themselves or that someone taught them long ago. And you have to just let go of that lie, that you have to stay in a situation that makes you sad because no one else will love you, or because you never break free, or because it's your responsibility. You have a greater responsibility to yourself to get yourself out of situations that are making you angry, that are making you cry, that are making you afraid. And if you realize that you have a greater responsibility to yourself, then instead of leaning on that emotion, instead of leaning on the fear, you actually just ground yourself. And you say, no, I'm just gonna move my ego aside, move myself out of the way, and that's the only thing that's gonna change my life. Because having this response is doing nothing for me except causing me to sit in a chair and cry or scream or be afraid or not talk to people. And that's not serving you anymore. So let go of the idea that that's who you are, because it's not.
And for people that are obviously watching this and, you know, agreeing with what you're saying and wanting to change their mentality, can you recommend like some resources that they can look into, maybe your own talks that you've done before?
I'd say the greatest resource you have to look into is your own experiences. So reading all these books, it's like, if you don't do the work, you're never going to see anything happen. It's like someone saying, I've read 5,000 books on C++. And you're like, have you ever written like a line of code? And they're like, no, but I've read many books. And you're like, well, I mean, okay, like that's cool. You know, but that's not really going to do anything for you if you've never actually practiced it. So rather than reading a book, I'd encourage you to read yourself. And instead of like in the same way that you're reading a book and you start to get lost and you become the story and you forget that there's a world around you, do the same thing with yourself. See yourself in that way. Become so aware of reading yourself and the world around you that you have the freedom to let go in a way that most people are not even conscious that they're holding on to that stuff, you know. But when you feel something like that come up, realize it. Like it's like a little bunny or something. I don't know. Like it's like it is an actual physical thing, or it's like a ball. Like it's a big black orb or something, or it's like something is coming up, and you grab that thing that comes up, and when it comes up, you just open your hand and you look at it, and you say, "What are you, and where are you from?" And I think that's the bigger reading that you have to do. That's the only way you're going to do the work on yourself. It's not through reading a bunch of self-help books or something. Like I don't mean to say there aren't intelligent people who write books like that, but I mean get out there and do the work is really the only answer. You know? Yeah.
Okay, great. Do you have any final message for our viewers that you'd like them to take away with?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think it's also about what do you want to learn? Who do you want to be in your life? And what is stopping you from doing that? Because you know the truth? It's not anyone else. No one else is stopping you from being the person you want to be. And if you believe that someone is, or if there really is a person who's behaving as a roadblock for you, then you need to change your surroundings. Change your surroundings and become aware of yourself. Let go. No one is stopping you but you. And yeah, I'm happy that everyone is here watching, and if I can help anyone in any way, then I feel really grateful to be in this chair, being able to have the time to share a message with all of you. So thank you.
And finally, Toni, where can our viewers find out more about you and what you're working on and what you're doing?
Sure. So my company is called CULTU.RE. Our for-benefit organization is called the Blockchain Commons. That's stewarded by Christopher Allen, who is the principal architect at Blockstream, the co-author of TLS and SSL. And you can find me online at www.tonilane.com or at Toni, Toni Lane, Lanec.
Okay guys, that's EOK TV. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your time, Toni. Enjoy the rest of the summit.